Hi everyone, I'm MaryAnn. I'm a voice coach and visual artist from Singapore, currently in Singapore, and welcome to another installment of my weekly vlog series, Find Your Voice. So this is where I share what it is that I'm learning in my journey as an everyday singer, as a voice coach, as a singing instructor, and ultimately as a person who is all about expressing myself in the truest and most authentic ways possible. And ultimately, I believe that this whole journey is also about finding your capital V voice, which is whatever that thing is that you are called to express over the course of your entire life. Such that when you look back at the end of your life, it's like, you're looking at this masterpiece that you have created over all these years that you have lived the best possible life that only you can live. And our capital V voice is whatever it is that we want to express. It could be our dreams, it could be in the form of your passion, it could be in the form of you going after something that really matters to you and creating that worthy and meaningful purpose for yourself. So when we work on your expression through singing, when we work on your physical voice through singing, it's not just about developing your voice and in your expression alone. It's also about working on your ability to express whatever it is that really matters to you over the course of your life, such that you can live a more true and authentic life to who you are as a person, and ultimately discover what that capital V voice is for yourself. So if you have questions, feel free to ask them in the comments, or you can also reach me through any one of my links, which are in the write-ups attached to these videos. So for the past 2.5 weeks, I have been working on a 100-day new illustration art challenge thing that I have set up for myself as a way to speed up my process of developing a new series of work as an artist. And this series of work has been with me for quite some time now, many months, in fact years. But the process of me developing them and expressing them and putting them out into a form, like in a painting, has taken me really long, because I keep second guessing myself, because I keep fearing that I'm going to run out of ideas, or I'm going to express them in the wrong way, and therefore I kind of like hold myself back in out of the fear that I would just lose steam, or like the creative well will run dry. And what I'm realizing over the past 2 weeks as I work on this series is that every time I think that I'm running out of ideas, when I actually sit myself down and really reflect on what it is that I want to express with this series, new ideas would come to me. And one of the things that I'm starting to see, at least for myself, and one of the ways I stop myself when it comes to pursuing my dreams, is that I keep fearing that I will lose whatever little it is that I already have. Like in this case with creativity, I feel like I'm afraid that I would use up all the water that's in the well, and the well will run dry, and then I would have nothing left. And it's not just in my creative work, it's also in the way I handle different aspects of my life, where whatever resources that I have, I somehow see it as, oh, that's all I've got, so I have to like preserve it and make them last as long as possible, instead of really going all out and using them and fully using them to the best possible extent that I can with them, and making the most out of them. One of the things that my mentor has said to me before is that, it's like you have this cup that's filled with water, and we keep thinking that, okay, this is all the water that I have, and I cannot let it run dry. I cannot let it run out. Like, I must always find some way to maintain that, there's a lot of water in there. But the thing is, if your cup is full, there's nothing more that you can add to it. It's kind of like, there might be so much water around you, but you can't collect it because your cup is already full, and if you were to try and collect it, that water is going to overflow. And so one of the things that we need to do in the process of learning and evolving ourselves is that we have to always empty that cup. And of course, not to like thoughtlessly empty it, but to empty it in a way that makes sense for you as a person. This is an analogy, so bear with me here. Okay, so in other words, it's like, we sometimes get so attached to what it is that we already have, and we come from a mindset of like scarcity and limitation, and we fear losing what it is that we already have, that we don't allow ourselves to really push that limit. We don't allow ourselves to empty out whatever is in that cup, like use up all that water in the cup, such that we have an empty vessel, and we can receive more from the universe and from the surrounding waterfall around us. And for the past 2.5 weeks working on this daily illustration project, I realized that I'm the one that is holding myself back from really going all out to develop this series of work, because I keep fearing that I would lose steam or I would, run out of ideas, when really whenever I have emptied that cup, there are more ideas that come in. Like, so every time I put out my ideas into a tangible form as an artwork, there are actually more ideas that can now enter this cup. So how does this apply then to singing and the voice and expression? Well, the thing is, when you are working on your voice and expression, part of it is we need to push ourselves to the limit. And what this means is that whenever you're doing your voice exercises, you want to really go all out and do them. Like, I know there is a real fear when it comes to the voice that you might strain yourself, you might strain your voice, you might damage your voice, and that is a genuine and a valid concern. Okay, so I'm not saying that every single time you do your voice practice you want to sing until you're hoarse. I'm not saying that. Okay, I'm just saying that when you do your voice exercises and voice practices, so like for example, if you are singing like as a warm-up exercise, if you're gonna be singing like la 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 la, you want to really be singing it out. You don't want to be like holding back and I have to preserve my voice, and you go like la 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 la, as opposed to really pushing it out la 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 la. See, like the second one, what I did, it actually allows you to exercise more of your voice because you are maximizing that time that you have by really putting in the best that you can with that exercise, instead of like just half singing it, you're fully singing it. And the thing is, yes, it's a valid concern that you might sing yourself hoarse, but the thing is, if you don't push that limit, you would never know where it is. Like, if you're always singing softly, you would never know how loud you can go. If you're always holding yourself back when you perform, even if it's just to yourself, when you're singing a song and you're performing just to yourself, if you're always holding yourself back in your performance, you will never know how much you can actually express whatever it is that is there when it comes to that song. And it's in the same way, even when we're communicating with the people who matter to us, because ultimately improving your voice and expression, part of it is also about communication with others, right? If you're always holding yourself back in the way you express yourself and communicate with the people around you, then you are letting your own limitations get in the way of you fully getting your ideas across, getting your message across, getting your intent across, getting whatever it is that you want to express to them across, like your love for them, your care for them, whatever that is. So when you're doing your voice practices, this is a chance for you to practice emptying that cup every single time. Sing as loud as you can go without straining your voice. In the beginning, when you do this, you might actually strain your voice, but that is how you know that, okay, this is the limit and I cannot go louder than this because this is my current limit right now. And then, yes, you continue practicing around just below that limit. And of course, if your voice gets hoarse, that's where you stop and you rest and you take a break for a couple of days until it recovers, and then you continue again. And then maybe after a few months, if you find that that point where you thought was your limit, it might no longer become a limit because you might get used to it, and then that's where you can push a little bit more to go a little bit louder and see where that takes you. So when it comes to your voice practice, it's not just about volume, it's also about the extent of your expression. So if you're singing a song and you really want to be expressive and you feel like you want to move your body a little bit to be more expressive, like go all out and do that as well. Like when you're practicing your song, if it's a practice time, make sure that you are really singing to the full ability as you are practicing. And when it's the part where you are performing it just to yourself, even or to an audience, really do it as though it is the actual performance that you are preparing for. In some cases, yes, you might not be actually preparing for a singing performance, but maybe you have like a work presentation. It's the same thing. Even if you are preparing for your work presentation and you're practicing that on your own, rehearse it as though it is the actual session. Always go all out in your practice such that you make the most out of that time that you are putting into practice, which is what I talked about in last week's video about impeccability and how to maximize the effectiveness of the time that you're putting in. And in this case, it's really about emptying that cup, allowing your well to run dry such that more water can fill it, such that you will learn something new about yourself, discover something new about the process that you're going through and the journey that you are on, and ultimately you will never know where this would take you. And it can only come about if you're able and willing to let go of the little that you think you already have and you're afraid to lose. Like, use it all up so that something new can take its place. So if you have enjoyed today's video, subscribe to my channel on YouTube, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments or in my links in the write-ups attached to these videos, and I will see you next week.